This is the Monday agenda with me, Finnegan Wasmbeye, and today we are going to look at the state of smallholder farmers, the state of agriculture sector in the country, with special focus on smallholder farmers who are the majority. And with me in the studios today is Agriculture Non-State Actors Forum Executive Director, Audax Rukonge. We've been working with smallholder farmers for several years now.
I'd like to say there's a lot of things that are happening at the moment. And I will say over the last few decades, we have seen tremendous changes in terms of smallholder farmers' involvement in agriculture. Slowly, we are seeing a greater emphasis and focus on issues related to the value chain development. And we're also seeing the mindset change among smallholder farmers, looking at agricultural sector as a professional rather than like a hobby, someone that could also do whatever they want to do at any time they want to do. So slowly we are seeing a lot of changes among smallholder farmers, but generally this is also supported by the government in terms of the policies that are emerging at the moment. We have seen over the last few years, I've seen the introduction of Tanzania Agriculture Development Bank as one of the initiatives, but we're also seeing a lot of focus in terms of access to productive inputs, specifically seeds, fertilizer, and agrochemicals, which are very, very important in terms of agriculture production and productivity. And for sure, our agricultural sector is highly supported by smallholder producers who are producing, I would say, around 70% of the food we consume within the country. And definitely also with non-food commodities like cotton and others. So we say they play a major role in terms of agriculture transformation, in terms of agriculture production and productivity, but also contributes a lot when it comes to revenues in our country. Maybe I will also highlight some few areas when we talk about the smallholder producers. We also have to highlight that this involves the fisher folks. People are doing the fishing. It also involves the livestock keepers. You'll also be surprised that at some point, this was a statement that was made by one of the senior officials, that in the absence of livestock in Tanzania, the government may be spending around 18 trillion Tanzanian shillings annually to import animal-related products. That's just one component of the agricultural sector.
Very important,
in general. But you'll also be surprised that as we speak now, Tanzania spends around 640 million USD annually to import products that could be produced by the same smallholder farmers in Tanzania.
Like which product?
We are importing edible oil, amounting around 350 million USD annually. We're importing sugar, around the same figure, 200 million. We're importing other commodities like milk, and yet we are the second to third countries in terms of large number of livestock within the continent. These are some of the areas that we feel like, okay, we need to support more the smallholder farmers to address the issue of productivity. Because that is very, very important. In terms of productivity, we are very, very low, falling below the regional average.
Practicing subsistence agriculture, nomadic cattle, livestock keeping. What exactly? Where is the problem exactly?
Okay, there's several reasons to that, and I think number one has been the traditional perception among the smallholder farmers themselves, but also in some cases even among the policy and decision makers, where even among our elite groups like the teachers, the professors, who feel like, okay, if you don't perform well at school, in colleges and universities, you turn up, you end up being a farmer.
It's a discipline for failures.
Exactly, which is also wrong.
Wrong.
It's very, very wrong. Because this is the professional. Agriculture is the profession, and it also needs to be given the due attention and respect it commands. And that's why over years, with the same farmers have been supporting the economy of this country by producing the commodities that otherwise would have been importing as a nation. And that will mean we are spending a lot of money in the country. But then this is the reason number one. But the second reason is also the focus of agriculture. People would like to do everything. And then by the end of the day, end up doing nothing in terms of the quality, the kind of product they are releasing in the market. Now with the new entrants, I'm using the word new entrants because we are seeing the new generation, the young people being more attracted into agriculture. At the lower end of the value chain as producers, but also at the upper levels of the value chain as retail, as processors, as people are doing the packaging. Even some of them are also doing the export of these commodities. Some of these young people, they're also getting into contract with smallholder producers for specific value chains. You have seen, for example, young people are getting entering into contract with smallholder producers to produce beans, green beans, as one way of making sure that they are able to get the better quality and be able to export. So the new entrants now, they are bringing in the new challenges. Now they are increasing the focus on market and the focus on quality, but also the focus on the issue related to the word trust, because if you have to capture the market, you also need to be reliable in terms of the quality, the quantity, and the timeliness. These are very, very important when it comes to. So slowly the old generation of smallholder farmers also getting to learn from the new entrants into the agricultural sector. Now I think what we are still now trying to grapple with is addressing the issues related to the post-harvest losses. Where in some cases for the component of cereals, we're talking about 30 to 40% of post-harvest losses.
Very high.
For commodities like vegetables, in some cases they are above 50, 60%. Now, talk less about the challenges when you have frequent power outage. For commodities like milk, you end up being a loser.
Meat.
But then, the good news is, with the current government administration and the focus on agro industries, much as we are talking about industrialization, but then the focus on agro industries, now you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And now, we can now address the issues related to post-harvest management by also promoting the value addition, the agro-processing, which is very, very important if we have to capture the regional and international market.
The biggest problems we have had is budget allocation. Budget allocation to the agriculture sector. We have had several declarations. The Maputo, I don't know, the Abuja, and people say you've got to at least allocate, governments need to allocate at least 10%.
As a nation, we are still lagging behind. We are below 5% of the national budget, and I would say this is also unfortunate. But still, much as the focus is on the public budget, but still we have the private sector, and the non-state actors in general who also have significant amount of resources that could be injected into the sector. But the challenge is, how do we make sure that you are able to capture the amount of resources which is not coming through the exchequer system, This is one of the challenges that you may also need to address and see how do we also have like a common focus. When we're talking on agricultural sector development program, then we know all the stakeholders, all the players have the same focus. And actually beyond the 20% budget allocation as part of the Maputo Declaration, the heads of state in Maputo in 2003 also committed some other levels of engagement which was also augmented by the policy statement by the heads of state, which was done in Malabo in 2014.
Yeah.
Now, in 2014, the heads of state for African Union also committed that we are going to promote intra-regional trade. Now, under the intra-regional trade, it's also making sure that by the end of the day, the Kenyans are not importing the products that could otherwise be supplied from Uganda or from Rwanda. Similarly, Tanzanians would be able to freely access the market in DR Congo, in Zambia, in
South Sudan.
Yes, in these countries that are very, very close here. Now, unfortunately, we have not made big progress when it comes to intra-regional trade. Africa as a continent, we are still importing commodities worthy around 35 billion.
Oh, as a continent?
Yes.
Commodities?
Yes, USD. And some of these could also be produced within
as you have said, why should we be importing edible oil? Why should we be importing sugar? We have plenty of land and where is our problem? Policies?
I think it's the issue of policy on one hand, but also the issue of consistency. Yes, the policies may be good, but then if you don't give enough time for the policy to mature and start realizing the outcome of any policy action, you end up not achieving what you have planned to do. And actually beyond the intra-regional trade, the heads of state also committed to support the use of technology. Which is also very, very important. As we speak about agricultural production and productivity, so the issue of technology becomes also critical when you talk about access to water resources for agricultural production. Then you could talk about irrigation, drip irrigation. This is all about technology. But also on science part, it's also about using the improved seeds. Improved seeds, which is very, very important. And many farmers are still using the traditional seeds, which in some cases actually they might have been overtaken by the event in terms of climate change, in terms of demands, in terms of
soil fertility.
Soil fertility, and also consumer preferences. Yes, these all also they also need to be considered. And I think as a country, as we work to support the smallholder producers, we have enormous opportunities, especially when we talk about the holistic approach towards Viwanda to support agriculture. Now, under the holistic approach, it's like, okay, we would like to see, let's say, the access to energy. Umeme. And access to umeme in the village level, then that also gives them opportunity to add value for the commodities that they are producing. In some cases also being able to preserve and store some of these commodities that are highly perishable. That is very, very important. But that also may not be enough. It also needs to be linked with transport and transportation. And, when you talk about the infrastructure, yes, talk about barabara da vijijini, and the trunk roads, and also the regional road that connects, let's say, connects Tanzania with Zambia, with Kenya, with Uganda. These are very, very important. Very, very important. The farmers, you may say, maybe the farmers doesn't see this, but it's also linked to the farm, because any cost that the trader meets, it has to be borne by any of the lower or the closest end. It is either the producer or the consumer. It's either the producer or the consumer. And probably this is one of the areas also where we think as a country we need to support the SMEs. We have SMEs, they are upcoming, but I think most of them are at the nascent stage, very, very at the formative stage, very, very young. And in some cases also, the previous policies were not that much supportive for SMEs to grow and be recognized, so that you are an emerging SME, you can access the credit from the bank.
Yeah,
Yes.
credit, the issue of credit, of course.
Yes, and also the registration process was also
Cumbersome.
cumbersome. The government has of late actually is in the process, but previously these are some of the things that we may also talk about so that we know why are we here today, whereas probably other countries are already somewhere else. And these are some of the areas that we also need to consider and make sure that we are also repeating the same mistakes.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the local cashew nut industry owners, and he told me he has 4 factories, but he doesn't have enough raw materials for the whole year. He says much of it is exported raw. I said, why? When you have industries, why should we be exporting raw cashew nuts?
Okay, probably that is very unique because, okay, before even respond to the question of a link between the industrialization and agricultural productivity, for cashew nut, I think that's also a unique scenario because we have increased the production from 150,000 metric tons to the current 300,000 metric tons.
Cashew nuts.
Cashew nuts.
Yeah.
Our processing capacity, I would use the word, has gone down. I will also clarify that, has gone down from 11% to around 6%. You see, when we were producing 150, we are processing almost 11%. Now, we have, over the last 5 years, we have doubled the production, and I don't see new industries to consume the same raw materials within the last 5 years.
And the industrial owners are saying they don't have enough raw material.
It could be because of the price. Maybe they are not competitive, offering the competitive price when you auction the cashew nut. Probably the people who are exporting it in raw form, they are giving the highest price. They are giving the highest bid. And then they are able to take the cashew nut. But then, do you know, as a country, we are losing hundreds of billions Tanzanian shillings by exporting raw cashew nuts. In 2013, we are losing around 240 billion shillings annually.
Oh my God.
By exporting that amount of money. Now, I think we may be talking about 300, 400 billion.
Sure.
Yes, and then that's money, but also what about employment opportunities for the young people, for over around 1 million graduates who are looking for the jobs. So cashew nut could be one of the commodities that offer those opportunities and the revenue opportunities, but also employment. But of late, actually, I'm also taught when you export raw cashew nut, you're actually exporting jobs. Exactly. Exporting jobs. The cashew nut shell has a very high value for people with advanced technology, let alone the karanga, the kernel, the shell itself. So probably of late we're also seeing farmers being trained, and I think